Hello, Just Jax here and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do some book sculptures to a certain nature. So I've got some old books basically, and I've cut a piece of fiberboard. That's what I want to do. And I also have, this was one of those kids' toys where you it's a fossil in a load of plaster mixed with stones and whatever. Granted, it's for 8 and up, but that was a right mare to get out of that plaster block. A right mare. So respect to any 8-year-olds out there who do that without resorting to the measures that I resorted to in order to get him out. But I thought, oh, well, there's going to be something I could do with him. And I was going to do another sort of sculpture similar to the Fallout inspired one with the anatomy toy. There was the skeleton that he was also a nightmare to put together. I thought, oh, I've wanted to do this book sculpture idea for a while. And it's basically using a couple of old books. You could get away with just using one, but I'm going to take some pages out the centre. But I'm going to try and keep most of it as it is, because that's going to be a really nice firm base. And I am going to paper mache with this other book torn up most of this guy in the middle here and build up some. It's not going to be greenery, it's just all going to be the colour of the pages. I'm not going to paint anything. So I'll cut out, well, I'll have to do research to make sure I get the right shape of leaves and whatnot. You know, some, those big old fat, I don't even know what they're called. That's why I need to do my research. But the big fat old leaves that used to be back in dinosaur days. So they can be erupting and he's coming through the thick of it all. So that's going to be my plan, and I think it's going to be quite cool. Because what we've got to do first is, so you can pick this up and that doesn't happen each time you pick it up, I've got to sink this in the back here, and I've made it ever so slightly smaller so it's not seen so much. So what I'm going to do is get that where I want it. Get a very soft pen, well, actually a hard one probably will be alright. Mark up where I'm gonna, can we see that? We can, that's alright then. And we can't go in too far, otherwise we'll cut into the book. And we don't want it to be all flippy floppy. Let's be brave, let's be bold, and I might need to put another blade in here, we'll see. Right, we are going to glue that where it is. I'm going to go quick, because this is going to dry quick. Right, let's see. Okay. Alright, our book is firmly flat. So that is not going to wibble wobble. So what we're going to do before we start working on the book itself is just paint the back. Just black, so it doesn't stand out. We'll get in as close as we can. Just so it looks nice. Well, the book is a bit there. Fully based, varnished, so it's not going to collapse on itself. All I have done is lined him up where I want him to be and cut a bit out so that he could sink in. I've also tore out a couple of pages. Now some of these we're going to use and curl in for the background. Other ones we're going to use to par cover him, par build up some scenery with. So before we do any of that though, I'm going to just varnish in between a few of these pages and a bit around the edge. So it's not so it's a bit more chunked together, and I'm going to weight it down So once again, that's all we can really do right now. I had a little experiment with cutting some different shaped leafage out. These ones are going to be the cycads. I'll have to check the pronunciation of that. Fig leaves. They were the only ones that I tried. That and having an experiment with starting to make a trunk for the, what are they called? Dawn redwoods. He is all glued in place, not going anywhere. So what we're going to do now is I've started to clip these down, like so. Now if I can remember which ones were trees, I think this, and this were trees. And then this, and this were going to be cycads. Now we don't mind the wood showing a little bit because we're going to be bringing the pages in and up. So, you know, we've got a bit more of a base to that tree. So we have super glue. I'm going to not take the whole thing off like that. I just want this piece off. So I'm going to fully glue up in that hole. And push them down as far as they'll go. Lovely. And now same again for the littler guys. So those cocktail sticks did come in the end. We'll do the same with those as well. Wedge them in as far as they will go. We're starting to get a bit of a scene up here. I'm getting quite excited about this and how it's going to end up. Now we're going to leave that to dry again for another 24 hours. Because when I start paper macheing, everything's going to get wet up. Now that won't affect the super glue and it won't affect the Yoo-hoo glue. It will if I do that while it's trying to dry. So we've got to turn our backs on this guy for another day. Everything is dry 24 hours later. Let's move this out of the way. So we don't need those at the moment. Now we're going to get super messy. Because we're going to paper mache him. We're going to bring some of these pages in. So tearing them and bringing them in towards him. But first of all, we're going to just start covering him. Now I've tore up a load of little bits. I tore up some long bits. I've got like some cut pieces. So we've got a good mixture of all sorts. And I've got my PVA mix. So we're just going to get really, really messy now. I'm going to try and not drip too much on the page. And I'm going to have to accept, because this is quite thick paper for a really old book. So it is going to be not the most cooperative of stuff going down, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be smooth as. The trees aren't smooth as. I might let some of these pre-soak. We can fish them out in a moment, so when we get up to him, they might be a little bit more flexible. I'm going to dump a load in there to go fishing for. It's so thick. It doesn't really want to absorb. It doesn't want to take shape of what I'm pressing it into either. It wants to just pop back up and do its own thing. It wants to stick to my fingers though. It's happy to stick to my fingers. It's like the paper isn't absorbing anything. This is most bizarre for a really old book. It should be falling apart right now. but it's not. It's like each page has been laminated, and it hasn't. Even if I screw it up, it's as if nothing. How mildly frustrating and odd. It's not even sticking to itself in here. What a most uncooperative little thing you are. It's so weird, it feels like it's papyrus. Like it's not even made of paper. No matter how much I rough it up, it won't even break. I'm rubbing that really hard, and it's not breaking down. What to do with this stuff? Put more water in the mix, see if that helps. Wish me luck. Okay, he's dry again. Check him out. That is looking like a proper scene. So I think what I'm going to do now is add a few of the fig leaves. We probably won't be using all of them. I'm going to tuck them in places. And a bit of the grass. And then we're going to look at whether we're going to fold. Well, we are going to fold some of these pages in, but giving them a bit of a grassy edge. So they can just come up a bit. And some of this can then be on the outside there as well. And a fresh tub of Yoo-hoo. Now this worked well doing it this way. Let me get it extra tacky. So that's what I'm going to do again today. I think we'll come round here first. Now I was having a dabble with clustering a few together. They're a bit more sort of creeping around the bottom. We've got some low growth as well as some higher growth. Can you get that? There's 3 clusters. Do one more in there. Now we'll put a little of this around. We'll keep the rest of that for beyond the page. So let's just do this and see. Right, I think what we'll do is we'll just cut one more, but perhaps not. Well, we'll see. We might fold it in, we might not. But they're going to get shorter and shorter. I think with this final wave, we're just going to cut into the pages, but not fold them up. Or have very little, like a slight curve. Just a bit of crinkling, I think. Okay, I think we're done. But let me clear everything away and get a final shot in. I'm not going to do anything else to that because I'm going to risk overdoing it and ruining it. I really, really like that. I'm just so glad that it's come out and it's come out well, because honestly, at one point, I think I mentioned it already, I thought this was just going to be a colossal fail. This was frustrating. I'll be honest, it did not want to absorb the glue. I had to resort to putting a little bit on and heat gunning it in place, and then putting another little bit on and heat gunning it in place. It's finished. I did add one thing, and that was the cycads. When I was looking at them, they had sort of like pine cone looking things growing out the middle of them. So that's all I added. That is so cool. Persistence pays off. Sometimes you just Sometimes you just have to have a break from something and go back at it with a new vigor. But yeah, that's really cool. I really like it. It looks like a jungle. Let's get in there nice and close. So I'll come back a bit first so you can see the full thing, as well as the chaos that is my little workstation. How cool does that look? You can see in his mouth a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to take that. It's a proper Jurassic forest in there. That looks so cool. Now I don't mind that he's a bit crusty in places, so I wanted it to be all smooth. And that's where I was getting the hang up on. Then as I was going, it's like, it doesn't have to be. You're working with different mediums. They don't all work how you like them to, like tissue paper, toilet tissue. Oh, you get some absolutely gorgeous smooth results. Even kitchen roll to a degree. Newspaper, you don't. Well, you do. You get a little bit. It depends how fine you tear it up. Books, you definitely don't. That is so cool. I'm so glad I continued with it. And I do really like the trees. I like how the trees came out. And the cycads, really. And even, like, the blades of grass. So, yeah. Challenging journey this time, but they ain't all a breeze. But it was worth it. That looks so cool. I am happy with it, and despite its challenges, I will come back to this and try and do some more, as well as doing some different things, because I've got a pile of old donated books, things that I'm never going to read. They're not my bag, but I can give them a new lease on life. Like, I can't remember what this book was to begin with. I know one of the books I used was Horrid Henry, and I do not read Horrid Henry, but it was very good as far as paper mache goes. It served a purpose. One of them was one of the Chronicles of Narnia, which again, it's not one of the things that I'm going to read. I appreciated it as a child growing up. Loved the film. Not a book that I'll be going back to in this current stage of life. So yeah, that was cool. Like I say, I've said it already, but I'm just so glad that I continued and persisted with it. And that's one of the things you'll learn with art, is it's easy to get disheartened when things don't go how you envisage them in your head. But sometimes they can turn out better. You just have to keep pressing, keep trying different things. I brought down a stack of books in the end, and I dipped a page of each book in the paper mache mix to see what would work best. None of them, apart from Horrid Henry, worked. It was the most easy to work with, along with, oddly enough, the pages out of this book. They weren't too bad either. But yeah, I hope this has given you some ideas of something you could do with your books. Or if you've got some ideas you want me to try, like a different scene, a different setup. I hope you've enjoyed this journey with me. This not so easy journey, but the payoff was worth it. Like if you like what you see, comment if you've got something to say, and subscribe if you really like what you see and you want to see more and know when it's coming. Thank you all again so much. Take care. See you in the next one.